This is my manual Gallardo, which I bought as a project car. I found it in an old damp shed where it had been neglected for years until I bought it with the aim of reviving it. And at the end of the last video, it started to misfire after straight biking it. And I wasn't really sure why. So let's try and fix it then, shall we? So it's misfiring. It sounds like it's running on like 8 cylinders or something, I don't know, it just sounds really lumpy. It needs spark plugs changing anyway because I've not been changing in years, so that'll probably be the most logical first step to do before I start just chucking money in it and making guesses, because my code reader's not really making any sense. I guess first things first, change the spark plugs and see if that does it.
This is about to be very technical about plugs, and if you're not interested, I suggest you look away now. So there's not really a straightforward answer to this. When it was new, it came with a champion plug, which you can't actually buy anymore. So if you walk into a Lambo dealer today and ask for plugs, they will give you some NGK PFR76s. And these cost about £35 each. So for all 10, you're looking for about 350 quid on plugs. Happily, however, NGK also offer some PFR 7Gs 11Ss, and these are a lot cheaper, about £11 a plug, and they're the same plugs you get in a Honda S2000. But there's a difference with those plugs. The gap in between the electrode and the earth on the plug is slightly bigger. It's 1.1 millimeters, whereas factory spec is 0.8 millimeters. Having a bigger gap means the spark has to jump a further distance, which means the coil packs are actually working harder. So why don't you just re-gap the plug with a feeler gauge, I hear you ask? Well, you can, but NGK themselves advise against re-gapping it more than 0.008 of a millimeter. And that's due to possible fractures, and nobody really wants the end of an electrode floating around your engine. So there's a third and fourth option from Denso, who are also a big plug manufacturer in the aftermarket, and they make a couple of suitable plugs. There is the PK22 PR8s, and these are around about £10 a plug. There is the Denso IK24s, also around the same price, £10 a plug. The difference between these two is the PK22 PR8s are made out of platinum, the IK24s are made out of iridium. The factory make them from platinum, but then iridium is actually superior material when it comes down to plugs. So in the end, I went for the IK24s. I spent £95 for 10, which is a bit of a saving when you think of the £350 for Lambo ones. First of all, I moved the water bottle out of the way and then took the cover off for the spark plugs. Unclipped the wiring harness for the coil packs and used a coil pack removal tool, which is specifically for the R8.
These spark plugs get really stuck in there, so I found them really helpful when I changed the spark plugs before on my old R8.
Audi make an official tool for this, which is really expensive, but this is just an Amazon find. And I could tell these coil packs haven't been removed in ages because they were so tough to remove. Wiggled them out one by one. And then used an Audi VW specific tool for when I changed the spark plugs on my old R8. Again, the official Audi tool is really expensive, but this was just another cheap one off Amazon. Cracked off the spark plugs one by one. These had not been removed in ages, so they're really tight to remove.
I thought I was going to have to get the breaker bar out.
Sometimes it's just worth doing the spark plugs just so the threads don't seize in the head so much. One cylinder at a time, I removed the old spark plug and replaced it with the new one. I didn't want to remove all of them at once because I wanted to avoid things falling into the cylinders. And I only did them up by hand because it's a really soft aluminium head. And then I tightened them to the correct torque. Pushed the coil packs back in. And then plug them in again.
Threw the cover back on. And then put the water bottle back in place.
The other side was a little bit different and access was a little bit tighter. you have to unbolt a chassis brace and then remove it out of the way.
Surprisingly good designing from Lamborghini. I'm surprised that you can even remove this. I was expecting them just to keep it there.
And then it's pretty much the same procedure again.
Take the spark plug cover off.
Unplug the coil packs. Remove them all out of the way. And then one by one swapping over the spark plugs. I don't know how long the spark plugs have been in there for, but they're looking kind of old, and one of them was mismatched as well. It was just a random different one. Push the coil packs back in and plug them in. And the cover and then the chassis brace can go back on. And try to avoid dropping any bolts. Because then you'll be like me and end up fishing them out with a magnet.
And then the air boxes and the air filters can go back into place.
And then I thought, as all the plastic covers around the engine bay are all out, I might as well give them a really good clean, just so they'll look nice when they go back in. Degrease them of all the spilt oil that's been there over the years.
And restore them with some trim detailer. And they look good as new.
Seems to be running fine.
That was a lucky escape. And I can't believe it was only that, to be fair. I didn't really get a chance to drive it. I put it away because tomorrow is going to the specialist to get some work done to it.
Today is the day it's being picked up from the specialists 4 months later. And for some reason, every single time I've driven this car has been in the pouring rain and dark. The headlights are pretty rubbish and the broken wiper doesn't really clear the screen that well. It didn't stop it from popping a few flames here and there.
Just picked up the Lambo. Well, I picked it up last night, but it was rainy at night time. I couldn't see anything out the windows. It was so steamed up, and the heaters don't really work. Because the aircon doesn't work with the heater panel, it's either 100% heat or nothing at all. But yeah, it's all fixed really, mechanically, and it's spot on. It's apart from that, but yeah, it's really good. It's a bit scary to drive. The gear shifts are very satisfying. It's so bumpy to drive, very loud in here, and I can't really see a lot, but I don't know if that's just because it's a bit steamy, but the windows are really narrow. Still takes some getting used to working putting the gears into the gates. It's a bit of a long story really why it's been gone for so long. I like to work on things myself, like pretty much all the time, but some things I think are best left to specialists who actually know these engines and can do it a lot easier and quicker than me. The things which were wrong with this, it had a coolant leak, so there was a pipe which goes from the back all the way to the front, and it goes behind the front diff, so the front diff needs to come out. That needed removing and welding. I can't weld, and I don't have a ramp, so I just thought easier just to get the specialist to do it. Also, there was an engine oil leak, which is difficult to find. You know, finding these leaks because the whole underside of the engine was just coated with oil. They ended up putting, I don't know, like some sort of white powder or something to try and trace the leak. Turned out it was the front seal, so they had to remove the crank pulley and replace that, and now it's not leaking anymore. So that's that fixed. There was a gearbox oil leak which they seemed to wipe up and it didn't return, so I don't know what that's about. It's been very quiet on the car front, I guess, just because they've had it from months. At first I didn't really mind because it was in the winter and I thought I'm not going to drive it anyway, and then as soon as the weather started getting nicer again I was like, you're nearly done with it. But yeah, such is life. I've got the car now, so all is good. Mechanically it's all great. You know, the shifter works really well. Oof. As I was saying, there's certain things I prefer to get a specialist to have a look over they had a look over and they found things that even I wouldn't have found. For example, they found the battery wires had melted, which was a potential fire risk. I'd never have seen that. Apparently what people like to do on these cars, because it's quite hard to find the terminals the right way round the battery, so people flip the battery around and just extend the wires, which is what someone did, but they just extended it with some really thin wires which had melted. There was some other coolant leaks as well. I think the coolant leaks are quite a big problem with these and the Murcielagos. Some of the pipes go really brittle, so they found another coolant leak. They replaced the coolant. I need to do the oil change and the fuel filters, air filters. I want to change the diff oil and the gearbox oil as well, because none of this stuff has been changed in years, and it just all needs a really good overhaul really. Once that's all done, mechanically it's all good and servicing is all up to date, and I can start driving it properly and get on with the cosmetic stuff. What is that? Is it a bump? It's actually very claustrophobic in here. It's very tight. But I can't really see out the windows, you know. It's a bit dark. Also, I've noticed it's really tight down by the pedals. So I had to actually remove my shoes because I start hitting all the pedals at once, and there's nowhere even to rest your feet unless they're on the pedals. I feel like there's like a yellow bubble around me that everyone looks. People stop their cars to look at it.
Managed to drive it a couple hundred miles over a couple of days with no issues since picking it up. Just dailying it around, getting used to it. Then problems again, it's one thing after the other with this car. Chugging out loads of smoke out the back, but then being a bit temperamental and only doing it after like 5 minutes of driving. It starts smoking and just popping and banging like mad, like it's overfueling. So I stripped it apart again. Should have really changed the coil packs last time really, but you live and learn. Brand new Lambo coil packs are about 75 quid including VAT, and there's 10 of them, so 750 quid. But as with everything, check the part number. It turns out it's the same coil pack from a Mark V Golf. Phoned up the local VW dealer and they're about 50 quid each. Still don't really fancy spending 500 quid on coil packs though, so I just went for NGK ones, which are about £26 each. You can use the red ones from an Audi R8, but the black ones from the Golf are a more updated part. So 8 of them delivered to me because I don't know why they sent 2 of them separately. And it still didn't quite fix it, so that was a bit of a waste of time. You can still hear it popping from the exhaust. Still scratching my head thinking, what the hell should I do with this car aside from burn it to the ground? I thought I'd go to the next problem. On the dash, it's showing the rear centre brake light out. 150 quid for a genuine Lambo one, but then it turns out it's just got Audi badges on it and it's just from an Audi A6 estate. So onto eBay, it looks like they're about 20 quid, which is a bargain. I might as well get 2. So I undid the 2 screws, disconnected the plug, put the new one on, and then tested it out, and that's a job well done. Right, so I've got an idea. If I start to disconnect injectors while it's running, then I'll be able to see if it's an injector problem or not, or if it's a fuel problem.
So unplugging the injectors starting from cylinder number 5 and working down. 5 makes an audible difference.
4 makes no difference, which means there's a problem there. 3 makes a difference, which means it's good. Same for cylinder number 2. And 1 makes no difference, which means there's a problem there too. Cylinder number 10 makes no difference, which means there's a problem there. 9 makes a change, which means it's good. The same with 8. Makes a bang when hooked back up. 7 is good. And 6 makes no difference, which means it's bad.
Right, I'm not really sure if that helped. Cylinder number 1 and 4 and 6 and 10 didn't make any difference when I unplugged them.
And also, what's confusing is how is it running on 6 cylinders if that is the case? I mean, at least it shows that it's not necessarily an injector problem, because there's what's the likelihood of 4 injectors all failing at once. But it is probably a fueling problem, I guess. But yeah, how's it running on 6 cylinders? Is that even possible for a V10?
Even if it did need injectors, it turns out the part number cross-references with the Audi 1.8 turbos on the TTs and the A3s. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see me get down to the bottom of this.